we have a script, kind of, because we're not perfect people and we need to make sure we're getting all the information across to you as efficiently and effectively as we can. So, all right, we're just going to start off with what happened to the Colonial pipeline. They experienced a ransomware, which is basically ransom for your data. So basically they came in, swooped some data, and they were like, ooh, look what we got. You need to give us money before...
Or else.
Yeah, or else before we are gonna give it back to you. And they do not explain how they're gonna give it back to you. In this situation, it was, we're gonna give it back to you, but in a very slow manner. So of course, the hackers got a hold of the data, but they said, okay, here it is, but you had to jump through so many hoops that it was almost impossible. So they had to rely on their backup network, which is, you know, that goes in the IT part, where yeah. Let you take control of that.
Yeah. So they basically, ransomware came in, and there's a million different speculations on how that happened. You know, you read news articles, and like Sherry said, we're not here to get into those details, but yes, they definitely got in. There's speculation on how they got in, and once they got in, they were requiring, everybody's probably heard of the term cryptocurrency. That's what you have to use to pay them the ransom. And you know, a lot of people tend to say, oh, well, I have backups, that's great. Well, is great, that's a good step, but also they can then take the data that they have retained and sell it on the dark web, and there's nothing you can do at that point. So that's basically crypto. Crypto got in the game that way. So I know Mike Hertzler, shout out, Coinbase, what's up? So crypto's got in the game in that sense. But Sherry, go ahead. I'll let you explain what ransomware maybe is in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, so basically the whole ransomware came into play. We know that it shut down 5,500 miles of the pipeline. So that's where everybody started freaking out and getting gas. Don't freak out. Don't get gas. Well, no, not get gas. Just don't get too much gas. Get what you need and just kind of let things play out. Let's see here. Really, at the end of the day, is this the first ransomware attack? No. This happens quite often. You just don't hear about it that much because it doesn't impact as many people like this has. So, you know, we always say, cyber attacks will impact you, and it can not only affect you and your company and your employees, but also other people in the community. This was a prime example of that. It was less of just a small town and more of the East Coast. So if this does not prove how much cyber attacks and just cybersecurity has an impact on everyone, don't know what does. Let's see here. So we talked about the ransomware. I also want to go ahead and break down that ransomware. It's typically not resolved for about a month. So what does that mean? Does that mean that that company is going to be down for a month? No. That's where AJ is going to talk more about having a disaster recovery plan. So, but before that, a business will typically be down for maybe 24 hours, 72 hours, just because it's the initial hit, and they have to get the plan in place, make sure they can execute it accordingly. But the fact that it's down for 21 days, quote unquote, not down, but it's an impact for 21 days, that's typically like them negotiating with the hackers, trying not to give them the money, but trying to get your data back. So it's kind of like this cat and mouse game. But I think, do we want to kind of give them some more stats? If you guys are interested in some more stats, let me know. We have all the information from like how much money hackers have made in ransomware last year, which was $350 million.
Chump change. Chump change.
Let's see here. Average payout. Okay, the average ransom payout was $300,000, with the highest ransom paid was $10 million. Now, that was the highest. The Colonial pipeline cyber attack, it was released, I think, yesterday, that they put out or paid out $5 million. There's a lot of speculation on if you should pay it out, what that means for hackers, because sometimes if you pay it out, it doesn't mean that you're done. It means that you're more vulnerable, because people can kind of come in like, oh, they'll pay us, let's go and do it again. So, but that's for another topic for another day. AJ, I think now is a good time for you to step in.
How can you stop cyber attacks? No. So there's no real like one size fits all. I think that's the biggest rush to the question today is, okay, it happened, it affected everyone. I mean, you hear cyber attacks and most people shrug it off because they're like, whatever, it doesn't affect me. I think this got the attention of everyone because everyone drives a car, they need gas, so they saw what's happening on the news. So I think now one of the biggest questions is how can you, I don't want to use the word like, I would say avoid. That would be the word I would use, because again, there's no one size fits all. So a disaster recovery plan, that is kind of how you would use, what you would use in the defense mechanism for this. What is that? It's going to consist of a couple different things. So you've got procedures, you've got tools, and you've got processes, right? So who does that? It really is a combination of your staff, right? So typically someone in this situation, you would have like HR, CFOs, COOs, CEOs maybe, but then a managed service provider, someone like CTS, right? So the idea is you put layers of security in between you and the world, and what that's going to do is hopefully mitigate any risk, right? But if for whatever reason it does happen, the question you ask yourself is, if it happens, what do I do? Most people can't answer that. So that's kind of what the disaster recovery plan does. It answers those questions for you. So again, you have someone good on the IT side, because let's be honest, everything rides on the internet now, right? So, and that's what cyber attacks are. They're going to try to shut down your network. They're going to try to stop your software from working, your email, whatever it may be. So what do? I mean, there's a million different things. You can do backups, you can restore your data. So like a backup disaster recovery solution, that's going to be important to have in a situation like this, antivirus, things like that. But I think it's more procedural, right? So training your staff, that's a huge thing people tend to negate, right? They're like, oh yeah, nothing's gonna happen to me. I got this email that says the CEO told me to buy like $500 in an Amazon card. Should I do it? And they do it, and then they hand the cards to the CEO, and he's like, what is this?
Your CEO don't want the Amazon cards. Let's just say
doesn't.
that.
And it's actually, you can pull up statistics and see that you can put every measure in place, but your weakest link's always your employees, your staff, so you gotta train them. And we have a guy here, Ben Jones, he's great at this. Phishing simulation is the term that we use, but basically we send out fake emails, right? See how many people click on it, report on that, and then train them not to do it, right? So there's, again, speculation on the pipeline and how it came in. They used the term that it was done through some remote software, and I think that's the other reason why cybersecurity is such a big word right now, because with the pandemic, everyone rushed to get home and work remote. And then that introduces a whole nother layer of complexity, and how do you stay secure when you've got someone at home using their personal internet connection to get back to the work and navigate things back and forth. So again, the complexity with this is very robust, to say the least, but the disaster recovery plan is the step that you want to take, because it's how you combat all of this.
And I also want to add that there's a lot of buzzwords going on throughout the media right now. They're saying that yes, it was a ransomware, and they're trying to figure out what was the cause of it. Was it from a phishing email? Was it an internal attack where something internal with one of the employees, did they do something, or was it something political? So regardless of the reason, it still happened. The $5 million was still put out there, was still saying, I need this information back. That's what we're trying to avoid. Mom's saying hey to everybody. So
She's a celebrity.
I think it's really important to also talk about the benefits of hiring somebody like an MSP like us.
Yeah.
But we're not here to be like, hey, hire us so we can help you avoid a ransomware. Although we are cheaper than a ransomware.
A lot cheaper than a ransomware.
We are here to let our community and our current customers and anybody else understand that this doesn't have to get to this point. I think the biggest thing right now is also having to make sure that your programs, your software, your devices are up to date.
Yep.
That's the biggest hook. Making sure that your employees understand that what does a phishing email look like? Mm-hmm. Why would you not want to click on it? What if you clicked on it and it looked like you were on a Disney website? Well, do you have a Disney account?
Yeah.
No. Okay, then why would you even think about clicking on it? So it kind of goes back to how many times you should train them. What should you do? And at the end of the day, you have enough to worry about. You have to focus on the strategic plan of your company. That's where we come into play and say, hey, we understand this is your end goal for Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. How about once every quarter we come in during your all staff meeting and we'll do a little prep training for phishing emails or something. We are willing to do that. We want to give you guys the information to make sure that you are protected and you thrive in your industry. So.
I think another point to bring up too is the buzzword being cybersecurity. There is such a thing as cybersecurity insurance, right? Yes. So the insurance game is kind of capitalized. And I say capitalized, but I mean, it's necessary because so many people don't take the precautions to protect themselves and they don't see the value. So they, the insurance comes into play if they were to get attacked. But, we also as an MSP will help with that because it's not cut and dry. It's not like you sign a policy premium and then you pay and you're good. Like there's so many hoops you have to jump through. You have to be checking enough boxes, doing these certain amount of things. But cybersecurity insurance is a thing. If you don't have it as a business, you should definitely, call us. We can help you at least see where you're at on the how are you looking and go from there on making some recommendations. But definitely a big part of the game today is cybersecurity insurance, where it wasn't years ago.
And back in March, we actually had Josh Barker doing a Facebook Live with us, and he broke down cybersecurity insurance. We've been resharing and reposting bits and pieces of that live, and he gives a lot of great advice. It's not about if you get hacked, it's about when and how bad. Example, Colonial pipeline. That was a bad attack. That they had put off $5 million. I don't care if it's in currency, cryptocurrency. It was a big impact to the East Coast. And also cybersecurity insurance, it helps you to not pay the ransom.
Yeah.
So you're protecting yourself for when it happens. You don't really need to do all that much. But also, it's not just about the ransom being paid out. It's also if your employees were impacted, you have to make sure your employees are protected. They first off have to know. They also have to get a credit report run on them. There's so much more back end work that costs money. So it's not just, I'll just pay off the ransom. No, you're not done. It's a social responsibility at that point.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people too, what you don't hear on the news is the companies that were attacked by a cyber threat, like ransomware, that went out of business, right? You don't see them on the news,
within the next 12 months.
Right, and some just can't pay the ransom and it's done, it ends there. So I think, I go back to you always hear about big public things like the gas pipeline and stuff, but this has been going on for a long time. Yes. And, I think people have just heard about it with the pipeline because it's affected so many. But I mean, if you do a quick Google search this is a big deal, very big deal. And again, more prominent today because of the pandemic and remote working. And let's be honest, generations change. I mean, with the new generations coming out, everybody wants to work remote at a beach somewhere. And you can. I mean, that's cool. That's what technology is about, right? So you don't have to be married to this building. You can be anywhere you want with an internet connection. But I think people need to understand as that complexity increases, they need to adapt and be more responsive to security measures and not just shrug it off like it's not going to happen to me, I'm good, because it will happen. It's just a matter of when it will happen and then how you will be prepared and how you will react to that. So disaster recovery plan, super important. Need that.
If none of this is sticking to you, let me give you one more stat. Last year, 2020, the most famous year, the cyber attacks increased 311 or 12%. So don't sit here and think, I won't get hacked.
Yeah.
No, they spent a whole year perfecting their art. You will, and you need to make sure you have everything set up to protect it and that you have a disaster recovery plan. So when it does happen, you're not stranded and doing a payout of $5 million.
Right, yeah. And it affects mostly small and medium businesses. I think a lot of people think, I'm not big enough, they're not after me. Incorrect, they are after you because the likelihood of you as a small or medium business, you probably got less money backing your IT budget, etc. So ultimately, you know, they'll probably get in with you and get your customer base. You know, you hear about some of these hacks. I know way back when Target, there was a situation with Target, and that was a, you know, HVAC company. That's what happened there. Somebody had a password because they had an air handler, needed Wi-Fi connection, and then boom, you know. So it's crazy. And then us in the industry as an MSP, like, we are like main targets, so we have to have a standard we have to meet, and then we have to then turn around and make sure that our customers are meeting that standard to protect everyone's data involved, because we don't want you guys to have to go through this, but we want to be ready in case you ever had to, because you can't stop everything. It goes back to human nature. You know, that person can be trained day in and day out, but get that email and click on it, and what are you going to do? How do you react? So we can help with that.
CTFs represent. Okay, that's about everything that we have for you guys today. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a question.
Yeah.
Just hit with
So weird.
Yeah.
What is it I said I wanted to say? This just in.
This just in. Ben Jones, straight from the CTS headquarters.
That's right.
He says in the comments below, they say that a company is hit with 11 ransomware. I read that completely wrong. Is hit with ransomware every 11 seconds. Yes.
It's scary.
Right.
It's scary. I mean, think about what you do personally. I don't know about you guys, but like everything is on the internet for me. You know, banking, I pay all my bills on the internet. And then people are like, yeah, I don't want multi-factor authentication turned on. It's too difficult. It's too much of an annoyance for me to have to deal with that. It's going to be a lot more of an annoyance when your bank account's drained.
This is what I like to say. I've noticed a lot of people giving pushback to the two-factor authentication.
Yeah.
And I like to say, well, do you have a lock on your phone? If they say yes, it's like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You're spending maybe like 2 seconds to unlock your phone, to get into your personal stuff.
Your life, basically.
Your life. You should do the same thing for all of your social media accounts, your email, like anything social on the web, anything on the web. Do a two-factor authentication. It takes 2 seconds.
It's worth it. Trust me. If you don't know what any of this means, give us a call. We'll help you understand a little bit better what that looks like. But again, this is a real thing. I think people see it more real today due to the pipeline's unfortunate situation. Hopefully we'll get gas back and it won't be like $3 a gallon soon. But in the meantime, stay safe.
Bye, guys.
See ya.